you're going to see over the coming 4 years is progressive adoption of Bitcoin by a bunch of banks, a bunch of various regulated entities operating in every major jurisdiction. And I think once we get to 2028, from 2028 on to maybe 2040, that last 12 years, that'll be just breakneck growth. I mean, we'll see everything kind of working. We'll see 90%, 95% clarity as to how it's going to work. That'll be the growth years.
Bitcoin's fourth halving has concluded without much fanfare in terms of price movement. Despite this, the cryptocurrency fluctuated between $61,000 and $67,000 during the initial phase of the new halving cycle. However, the remainder of the year holds several factors to ponder. Will the diminishing Bitcoin supply continue to fuel the ongoing bull run? Can we anticipate the emergence of more spot Bitcoin ETFs? Michael Saylor, an accomplished American entrepreneur, inventor, author, and philanthropist, addresses these inquiries. As the co-founder and executive chairman of MicroStrategy, MSTR, a renowned business intelligence firm established in 1989, Saylor's insights offer valuable perspectives on the crypto landscape's evolution over the past 15 years. Bitcoin emerged in the aftermath of the global financial crisis, offering an alternative to traditional economies. Since its inception in 2009, Bitcoin has experienced growth, albeit with occasional setbacks. The introduction of spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US in January 2024 marked a significant turning point for the cryptocurrency. Money has poured into the newly created Bitcoin ETFs in early 2024, helping to push the price of Bitcoin to a new all-time high above $73,000 in March. Bitcoin investors are gearing up for the 2024 halving event, with MicroStrategy leading the corporate pack by holding 214,400 Bitcoins, valued at $13.55 billion as of April 30th, 2024. 21 shares observed a surge in Bitcoin supply held by long-term investors, coupled with a decline in Bitcoin available on exchanges, indicating an impending supply shortage. Glassnode data revealed that long-term holder supply reached an all-time high in December 2023, but dipped as investors took profits amidst Bitcoin, reaching an all-time high on March 14, 2024. Michael Saylor predicts that by 2028, major companies will adopt Bitcoin for their treasuries, using fair value accounting. He suggests exponential growth beyond 2028, likening Bitcoin's evolution to the early internet. By 2040, he envisions Bitcoin becoming a mainstream stable fixture in global finance. Ready to uncover more insights? Remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications always to get our latest content.
You look back at the last 15 years and you can say, well, from 2009 to 2020, that was the crypto cowboy years, those offshore, wild, crazy times. And it was primarily pre-institutions, pre-corporations. I think from 2020 to 2024, those are the crazy years that, with COVID and lockdowns and zero interest rates. And that's when you started to seeing Fidelity became much more visible with Fidelity Digital Assets, and Coinbase came public, and all the Bitcoin miners came public, and MicroStrategy adopted a Bitcoin strategy, and Square became Block, and Cash App grew by leaps and bounds, and Tesla bought Bitcoin. So that was that crazy middle period where the entire industry wasn't sure where it was going to go. 2024 kicked off the era of corporate adoption and institutional adoption of Bitcoin, where now that tension between our corporation, is this for corporations, is this for institutional investors, or is this just a retail offshore phenomenon? That got resolved in January, and by the end of 2024, it'll be pretty clear. The next 4 years, this is the early period of corporate adoption, institutional adoption. This is the period where BlackRock can go from nothing to having 100 billion or hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin, right? So there's a struggle of who will securitize the ETF. And then this is the period when we'll see, some major banks, banks in South America, a bank Itaú, or banks in Europe, or banks in the US that will become Bitcoin custodians. which one and who will be the leader in that space? Well, we'll know by 2028. We're still waiting to see. And this is the year when you'll start to see large corporations adopting Bitcoin as a treasury asset. We'll have fair value accounting, and it'll become much more normal. And you'll start to see a universe of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 companies that have some Bitcoin exposure. And I think once we get to 2028, from 2028 on to maybe 2040, that last 12 years, that'll be just breakneck growth. I mean, we'll see everything kind of working. We'll see 90%, 95% clarity as to how it's going to work. That'll be the growth years. And I think when you get to 2040, Bitcoin will be 30 years old. And we'll have moved. The first 15 years were kind of adolescent childhood. The 15 years after that, the teenage, young adult years. And then it'll be like the first 30 years of the internet, right? And from there, it'll be a growth industry, but it'll be kind of a mature, well-understood growth industry. And every corporation will expect to work with it. Everybody will understand it. It won't be this crazy, exotic, complicated thing anymore.
The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, gave the green light to 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs in January after 10 years of denying such products. The investment vehicle allows people to buy shares via brokerage accounts that track the underlying price of the cryptocurrency. The ETFs experienced robust inflows, with impressive demand of $1.5 billion, $6 billion, and $4.6 billion in January, February, and March, respectively. However, overall flows slowed significantly after reaching a peak net daily inflow of $1.05 billion on March 12th, according to data from the block's dashboard. Subsequently, Bitcoin saw an 18% decline from its all-time high of $73,000 on March 14th to the end of April. In April, outflows persisted, primarily led by Grayscale's higher-fee GBTC fund, which saw $2.5 billion exiting the ETF over the month. According to Michael Saylor, once it becomes evident that Bitcoin is the sole choice, corporate initiatives can advance confidently without hesitation. Saylor stresses that regulatory acknowledgement of Bitcoin as an institutional asset and dismissing alternatives will be crucial in this regard. Now, let's redirect our attention to a video.
January of 2024 was the beginning of the period of corporate adoption of Bitcoin. And, that first big catalyst was the SEC's approval of spot ETFs for Bitcoin. The second big catalyst is going to be the SEC's denial of every other crypto application for a spot ETF. And the entire world was thinking, will the regulators ban Bitcoin? And we answered the question, no, it won't be banned. And then the next objection is, but will it be copied? And when we actually see the regulators deny the applications of the copies of other crypto assets, then we will have checked the box. It won't be banned, it won't be copied. And generally, when people are, if you're deciding whether to build a 100-story skyscraper and invest hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and someone says, well, you either need to use steel or you need to use bronze. And you say, well, which one is the right one? And the answer is unclear. Well, it might be that the bronze is the right one and steel collapses, or it might be steel is the right one and bronze collapses. That paralyzes a big corporate project. But when you get past that and you realize, well, there's just steel and there is no second best metal for structural civil engineering, once you get to that point, the project moves forward because it's pretty obvious to the corporation they want the 100-story building. They just don't want to be paralyzed by the indecision and the fear of making the wrong choice. So I think that the critical catalyst will be not just the institutional or the regulatory acceptance of Bitcoin as an institutional asset, but it'll also be the regulatory rejection of the alternatives. The success of the Fidelity and the BlackRock ETFs will accelerate clarity with regard to can NASDAQ and, or other stock exchanges trade options? Under what, when can they trade options? There's already interesting movement afoot for the New York Stock Exchange to start trading 24/7. And that's been created by the crypto enthusiasm. So I think you're going to see an evolution of traditional finance organizations. I think you're going to see a lot of lobbying for more precise legal clarity and regulatory clarity, and you're going to see a lot of building both by new digital assets companies, as well as you're going to see all the traditional accounting and traditional finance operators. They're going to upgrade their systems in order to support this new Bitcoin-backed economy.
Although Bitcoin prices declined more than 8% in April, they are still up around 50% year to date. As Bitcoin's price has dipped below the $60,000 mark, it could fall further to around $50,000, according to Standard Chartered Bank. What is your stance? We welcome your insights in the comments section below. If you found this content valuable, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to stay informed. Thank you for joining us on this journey.